For the first time in several decades, Jamaica has become a net exporter of goods and services. Chairman of the Economic Program Oversight Committee, EPOC, Keith Duncan, says this represents a significant achievement for the country in accomplishing a current account surplus. Speaking at EPOC's quarterly briefing on Tuesday, Mr. Duncan says it remains to be seen if this trend can be maintained. Siobhan Campbell tells us more.
The current account represents a country's imports and exports of goods and services, payments made to foreign investors, and transfers such as foreign aid. The current account may be positive, a surplus, or negative, a deficit. Positive means the country is a net exporter, while negative means it's a net importer of goods and services. According to EPOC's chairman, Jamaica ended the 2022-23 fiscal year with a net gain of $354 million in its current accounts. It's the first time in decades that the country has closed out a fiscal year as a net exporter of goods and services.
So this is something that I think is worthy of highlighting, the fact that Jamaica achieves its first current account surplus for the financial year 2022-23 for the first time in decades. Jamaica ran a current account surplus of $352.4 million. That is, Jamaica recorded a current account surplus of $352.4 million for the financial year 2022-2023. This surplus marks a milestone achievement, representing the first time in decades that Jamaica has not reported a current account deficit.
While Jamaica continues to import more goods than its exports, the difference in the current account balance was made up primarily through gains in tourism, coupled with robust improvements in exports and remittances.
This has been driven by the robust recovery in tourism and travel, increased exports, and continued strong inflows from remittances. This is a very positive sign for Jamaica. The question is, can we sustain it? We're cautiously optimistic. I think the Bank of Jamaica may be projecting a slight deficit for the financial year, but however, if we continue to see strong performance in tourism and travel, if we continue to see exports, especially in the manufacturing area, continue to increase, we should be able to maintain a current account surplus for the first time in decades.
While there's a projection for a current account deficit in the current fiscal year, Keith Duncan notes that the first quarter continued the positive trend, leaving him bullish the results of the last financial year can be repeated.
That means Jamaica is lending to the rest of the world. This is a milestone achievement. This continued into quarter one of the financial year 2023-24, where Jamaica recorded a current account surplus of $241 million in the first quarter of the current fiscal year, 2023-2024 fiscal year, right? $241 million. This represents a $227 million increase over the $13 million surplus recorded for the same quarter in financial year 2022-2023.
Siobhan Campbell for Nationwide News.
Meanwhile, Mr. Duncan says the country continues to meet and in many instances exceed structural benchmarks.
For the April to September 2023 year-to-date, revenues and grants came in at $427 billion, surpassing the second supplementary estimates by $8.4 billion, 2% ahead of budget. Tax revenues came in at $390.1 billion and non-tax revenues collection of $32.5 billion. Therefore, tax revenues were also ahead of budget by approximately 1.8%. This was actually a 14.6% performance improvement compared with last year for the same period. So in other words, tax revenues increased year over year by $49.7 billion.
The EPOC chairman says the Jamaican economy continues to show resilience even amid turmoil in its main trading partner, the United States.
The U.S. economy is expected to slow into the last quarter of 2023 and into 2024 based on the aggressive rate hikes of the U.S. Fed over the recent past. Despite a slowing growth in the global and U.S. economy, Jamaica's economy continues to record positive growth quarter over quarter for the first time, like 14 consecutive quarter over quarter growth, and we expect growth to normalize in the range of 1 to 2%.
Keith Duncan, chairman of the Economic Program Oversight Committee, EPOC, he was speaking at a quarterly media briefing on Tuesday.